Few names in sports evoke both awe and fear like Mike Tyson. From the gritty streets of Brooklyn to the glittering lights of Madison Square Garden, Tyson's life has been a whirlwind of triumph, tragedy, controversy, and redemption. He became the youngest heavyweight champion in history, a man whose power and ferocity in the ring made him seem unstoppable. Yet his story is far more than knockouts and titles. It is a journey through hardship, fame, personal demons, and ultimately reinvention. Tyson's life is a study in extremes. He was a street fighter who became a world champion, a young man shaped by violence who learned discipline under one of boxing's greatest mentors, Cus D'Amato. He reached the pinnacle of the sport only to face shocking defeats, legal troubles, and personal scandal. But through it all, Tyson's story remained compelling, a human drama as captivating as any fictional tale. This documentary traces the full arc of Tyson's life. We will explore the streets that forged him, the mentors who shaped him, the fights that defined him, and the controversies that challenged him. From his early victories to his most shocking defeats, from his turbulent personal life to his reinvention as a media personality and cultural icon, this is the story of Mike Tyson, the man behind the myth, the legend beyond the ring. Before we enter the world of Tyson, the baddest man on the planet, we must first understand the environment that shaped him, the streets, the struggles, and the early battles that set the stage for a career that would shock the world. Chapter 1: Origins in Brooklyn, the streets that forged a fighter. Mike Tyson was born June 30th, 1966, in the gritty neighborhood of Brownsville, Brooklyn, a place infamous for poverty, crime, and violence. His childhood was a turbulent mix of hardship and survival. His father abandoned the family before Mike was born, and his mother struggled to raise him and his siblings under near-impossible conditions. Tyson grew up witnessing the harsh realities of street life, gangs, drugs, and a constant fight to survive. From an early age, Tyson showed an instinct for aggression. He fought on the streets, not just as a pastime but as a necessity, a way to assert himself and stay alive. At just 10 years old, he was already in and out of juvenile detention centers, where he learned how to defend himself against older, more dangerous kids. But even amid the chaos, Tyson's raw talent for fighting was undeniable. He had explosive speed, incredible reflexes, and a ferocity that terrified both peers and adults alike. It was Bobby Stewart, a local trainer and former boxer, who first saw the potential in young Mike. Stewart noticed not just Tyson's physical gifts, but his almost supernatural determination. He introduced Tyson to Cus D'Amato, the legendary boxing trainer who would become a father figure, mentor, and guiding force. D'Amato recognized the raw talent in Mike, but also saw the danger. Without discipline, Tyson could destroy himself as easily as his opponents in the ring. D'Amato's philosophy was simple but profound. Fear is your friend. He taught Tyson to channel his anger, his pain, and his fear into precision and focus inside the ring. Under D'Amato's guidance, Tyson began to understand that fighting was more than brute strength. It was about strategy, timing, and psychology. D'Amato shaped not just a boxer, but a young man who could survive the world's harshest arenas. Even as Tyson's life began to take a positive turn in the ring, the streets never fully let him go. Friends and mentors warned that Brownsville had a way of pulling kids back into violence, a lesson Tyson would carry with him throughout his life. The early years were brutal, formative, and unrelenting, and they would lay the foundation for one of the most explosive careers in sports history. Chapter 2: The Rise of Young Tyson, from street fighter to prodigy. By the time Mike Tyson reached his early teens, it was clear that the streets of Brooklyn had forged not just a fighter, but a force of nature. He was fast, unpredictable, and explosive, the kind of kid who could terrify older children in the neighborhood without trying. But even as Tyson built a reputation for toughness and aggression on the streets, he lacked direction. His life was chaotic, marked by run-ins with the law, truancy, and survival fights in the alleys and playgrounds of Brooklyn. It was during one of these pivotal years that Bobby Stewart, a former boxer and counselor at a juvenile detention center, recognized something extraordinary in Tyson. Stewart saw a spark, not just raw power, but a rare intensity and determination. Unlike most troubled kids, Tyson had an almost obsessive focus when he fought. Stewart introduced him to Cus D'Amato, the legendary trainer who would become the architect of Tyson's career and, for a time, the father figure Tyson never had. D'Amato immediately saw both the promise and the danger in Tyson. He recognized that if left unchecked, the young fighter's aggression could consume him. D'Amato took Tyson under his wing, bringing him to Catskill, New York, where he trained him in a disciplined, structured environment. The Catskill camp was more than a gym, it was a crucible. Mornings began with long runs along mountain roads, calisthenics, shadowboxing, and relentless drills designed to build speed, stamina, and explosive power. Afternoons were filled with mitt work, bag rounds, and sparring sessions where Tyson learned to anticipate, react, and dominate. But D'Amato's influence went beyond physical training. He instilled in Tyson a philosophy that would define him both in and out of the ring: fear is your friend. D'Amato taught that fear, properly harnessed, could sharpen instincts and heighten aggression, turning a raw, impulsive fighter into a calculating, precise killer. He showed Tyson how to channel anger, pain, and uncertainty into technique, timing, and mental focus. Slowly, the wild street kid transformed into a disciplined athlete, one whose mind and body were aligned in pursuit of greatness. By the age of 15, Tyson was already making waves in the amateur boxing world. He dominated national tournaments, often defeating fighters older and more experienced than himself. His style was unmistakable: compact, fast, and devastatingly powerful, with combinations that left opponents reeling before they could mount a defense. Trainers and commentators began to take notice, calling him Kid Dynamite for his explosiveness and seeming invincibility. Tyson's professional debut came in March 1985, at just 18 years old, when he faced Hector Mercedes. The fight lasted less than 2 minutes, ending with Tyson scoring a first-round TKO. It was a statement to the boxing world. The streets of Brooklyn had produced a new force in the heavyweight division. Over the next 2 years, Tyson fought constantly, sometimes multiple times a month, compiling an impressive record of 27 straight wins, 26 by knockout. Each fight reinforced his growing reputation as a fearsome puncher, someone whose presence alone could intimidate opponents even before the bell rang. Tyson's rise was meteoric. Sports magazines and television networks chronicled his every fight, marveling at his speed, power, and uncanny instincts. Yet even as he gained fame and acclaim, the challenges of his youth remained with him. The same aggression that made him unstoppable in the ring made his personal life volatile and unpredictable. Friends and mentors warned that Tyson's intensity, if unchecked, could be a double-edged sword. Still, the trajectory was clear. The young man from Brownsville was on a collision course with history. From street fights to Catskill training sessions, from juvenile detention to national amateur tournaments, every moment of Tyson's youth had prepared him for one thing: to step into the professional ring and shake the world. Chapter 3: The Heavyweight Champion, Dominance and Infamy. Tyson's first taste of heavyweight glory came in November 1986, when he faced Trevor Berbick for the WBC title. At just 20 years old, Tyson became the youngest heavyweight champion in history, defeating Berbick with a second-round knockout. His power was undeniable, his speed unprecedented, and the world began to view him as invincible. Over the next 2 years, Tyson consolidated his dominance. He defeated James Bonecrusher Smith to unify the WBA title, and Tony Tucker to claim the IBF title, becoming the undisputed heavyweight champion. In the ring, Tyson was relentless, a whirlwind of punches, jabs, hooks, and uppercuts that left opponents dazed and fans mesmerized. He moved with a speed rarely seen in a heavyweight, combining peekaboo defense with explosive aggression. Outside the ring, Tyson's fame skyrocketed. He mingled with celebrities, appeared in magazines, and became a symbol of raw, unstoppable power. But his personal life was increasingly turbulent. His marriage to Robin Givens in 1988 was highly publicized and fraught with tension, Allegations of abuse, infidelity, and erratic behavior dominated tabloid headlines. The marriage ended in 1989, leaving Tyson both famous and infamous, a man whose life was as chaotic outside the ring as it was dominating inside it. Tyson's intensity occasionally spilled into the streets. One infamous confrontation occurred in 1988 when he fought Mitch Green, a former friend and sparring partner outside Dapper Dan's in Manhattan. The brawl, fueled by personal grudges, highlighted Tyson's volatile temperament and the edge that had always accompanied his talent. Chapter 4: The Fall, Buster Douglas and the Shock of Defeat. By 1990, Mike Tyson was considered unstoppable. Undefeated, dominant, and feared worldwide, he had become a global icon, a man who carried the aura of invincibility into every ring. Fans, media, and even casual observers assumed he would remain undefeated indefinitely. But February 11th, 1990, in Tokyo, Japan, would prove that no one is truly untouchable. Facing Buster Douglas, a 42-1 underdog, Tyson walked into the ring with confidence bordering on arrogance. Douglas, by contrast, was motivated by personal tragedy. His mother had recently passed away, and he fought with focus and heart. From the opening bell, Douglas moved strategically, jabbed with precision, and avoided Tyson's powerful combinations. Tyson, who relied heavily on intimidation and explosive offense, seemed unprepared for the disciplined, evasive style of his opponent. Round by round, Tyson pressed forward, looking for the knockout that had become his signature. But Douglas absorbed the power, countered effectively, and refused to be bullied. In the 10th round, after weathering Tyson's relentless attack, Douglas landed a devastating right hand that sent Tyson to the canvas. When Tyson rose, he was knocked down again, and the referee counted him out. The unthinkable had happened. The seemingly invincible Mike Tyson was defeated. The shockwaves were immediate. Fans were stunned. Media outlets scrambled to explain the upset, and the boxing world was reminded of a simple truth: no fighter is invincible. Tyson himself was devastated. In later interviews, he admitted that his focus had waned, that he underestimated Douglas, and that the loss marked the beginning of a difficult period in his personal and professional life. Chapter 5: Legal Troubles in Prison. The early 1990s were turbulent for Tyson outside the ring. In 1991, he was charged with rape of Desiree Washington, a Miss Black America contestant. The trial was intensely publicized, drawing global attention. The conviction and subsequent 6-year sentence marked a dramatic fall from grace for one of the most famous athletes in the world. Tyson ultimately served 3 years in prison, and the experience would profoundly impact him. Prison stripped Tyson of wealth, fame, and freedom, leaving him with only his thoughts and memories of the man he had been. For the first time, he was confronted with his own choices, patterns of aggression, and the consequences of unchecked behavior. The daily monotony and isolation forced him to reflect on both his personal and professional life, and he began reading about philosophy, religion, and psychology, subjects he would carry with him for years to come. Tyson also continued to train while incarcerated. Though his body remained formidable, his mind became equally sharpened through introspection. He began to understand the importance of patience, discipline, and self-control, lessons that D'Amato had taught him but which life had made even more urgent. This period laid the groundwork for his eventual comeback, as Tyson quietly prepared to reclaim not just his career but his identity. Upon his release in 1995, Tyson faced a changed boxing landscape. Fans remembered his power, but critics questioned whether he could return to elite form. Yet Tyson's hunger remained intact. He was determined to prove to the world, and to himself, that he could rise again, a man tempered by punishment, reflection, and the stark realities of life outside the ring. Tyson later described this period as transformative, calling it a time of learning, humility, and self-discovery. While the public saw a fallen champion, behind the scenes, Tyson was quietly preparing to return to the ring with renewed intensity and a deeper understanding of both himself and the sport that had made him famous. Chapter 6: Comeback and Infamy, Holyfield, Lewis in decline. Tyson's post-prison return to boxing was highly anticipated. His first fight against Peter McNeely in 1995 was brief, with Tyson scoring a first-round TKO, demonstrating that his raw power remained intact. Subsequent fights, including a win against Buster Mathis Jr., served to rebuild both confidence and public perception. Yet the boxing world knew that the true test would come against elite competition. In 1996, Tyson faced Evander Holyfield, a fighter who combined skill, strategy, and resilience. The match was intense, with both men exchanging blows and demonstrating the mental and physical demands of championship boxing. Despite Tyson's aggression, Holyfield's technique allowed him to wear Tyson down, ultimately winning by TKO. The loss was a stark reminder that the sport had evolved and that Tyson's dominance was no longer guaranteed. The 1997 rematch with Holyfield became one of the most infamous moments in sports history. Frustrated and desperate, Tyson bit Holyfield's ear, tearing a piece off in front of millions of spectators. The disqualification, suspension, and global scandal marked a low point in Tyson's career and reinforced his reputation as volatile and unpredictable. Public perception shifted. He was no longer just a champion, but a figure whose life outside the ring was as captivating and chaotic as his fights inside it. Tyson's later fights, including his 2002 bout with Lennox Lewis, demonstrated the physical decline that comes with age and years of punishment in the ring. Though he retained some of his signature speed and power, the combination of prior injuries, psychological strain, and the passage of time limited his ability to dominate. Each fight became a narrative of struggle and spectacle, attracting fans more interested in his persona than his boxing record. Despite setbacks, Tyson remained a compelling figure. His career during this period was less about victory and more about storytelling, a mix of brilliance, controversy, and vulnerability. The public watched not just a fighter, but a man grappling with fame, loss, and the consequences of his earlier choices, creating a narrative as riveting outside the ring as it was inside. Chapter 7: Life After Boxing: Redemption, Reinvention, and Reflection. Tyson's post-boxing life was a journey of reinvention. He faced financial troubles after losing millions to mismanagement and extravagant spending, but he also found opportunities to rebuild and redefine himself. Acting became one avenue, with appearances in films like The Hangover, showing a surprising comedic talent and willingness to embrace his own eccentric persona. He launched the Hotboxin with Mike Tyson podcast, offering candid reflections on boxing, life, and personal struggles. Tyson became known for his introspection, humor, and raw honesty, sharing stories of triumph, failure, and resilience. Fans were drawn not just to the athlete, but to the man who had survived fame, scandal, and personal demons. Tyson also focused on spirituality, mental health, and personal growth, discussing addiction, anger management, and the lessons he had learned from past mistakes. His openness about vulnerabilities made him relatable, transforming public perception from fearsome champion to complex, multidimensional human being. Beyond media and podcasts, Tyson became a mentor to younger fighters, a public speaker, and a business entrepreneur, launching ventures including a cannabis company and other lifestyle projects. Each endeavor reflected a desire to take control of his narrative, to turn lessons from his past into constructive projects, and to show that reinvention is possible at any stage of life. Through these efforts, Tyson has become a figure not just of boxing lore, but of human resilience and transformation. His post-career journey demonstrates that a life marked by mistakes, chaos, and setbacks can still lead to purpose, reflection, and influence, redefining the meaning of legacy beyond championships or records. Chapter 8: Legacy, the Man, the Myth, the Legend. Tyson's legacy transcends his boxing record. He is remembered as one of the most feared heavyweights of all time, a man whose combination of speed, power, and aggression redefined the sport. Yet his story is about more than athletic achievement. It is about survival, resilience, and the human capacity for reinvention. From the streets of Brooklyn to the pinnacle of the sport, Tyson's life reflects extremes: poverty and fame, dominance and defeat, scandal and redemption. He has shown the world that greatness is often accompanied by turbulence and that the lessons learned from failure are as important as those learned from success. Culturally, Tyson has become a symbol of fear, fascination, and transformation. His appearances in media, film, and podcasts demonstrate a man willing to confront his past openly, using humor, reflection, and honesty to connect with audiences. He remains a living legend, a figure whose influence extends beyond boxing into popular culture. Even today, Tyson's story resonates because it is deeply human. His rise, fall, and reinvention illustrate the costs of aggression, the consequences of fame, and the power of redemption. Fans, commentators, and historians alike continue to analyze his fights, his life choices, and his public persona, showing that Tyson's impact is both enduring and multifaceted. Ultimately, Tyson is remembered not just for the baddest man on the planet who dominated the ring, but for the man who survived, evolved, and continues to captivate the world, proving that legacy is measured not only in victories, but in transformation and resilience.